Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody. So, anybody has any questions before we jump into any topic? Before I talk about anything? Anybody has any questions? Anything, Java, non-Java, anything? No? Okay. So, you guys don't have any issues so far? Nobody has run into any issues? Wow, if you guys are this quiet, then I assume either you are superstars or nothing worked, or you didn't even try.
Maybe I got a quick question to ask.
Yeah, at least you're asking a question. You're doing better, Sean?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that day, I mean, I had a very rough night. That's why
Sorry
I
to
had
hear
to
that.
drop off.
Sorry to hear
No
that.
problems.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Ask.
Yeah, see, the question is, it's a very trivial one though. You see, in the prepared statement, see the question mark, the orders in which the question marks appear, they are from 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, right?
You got it. Yep.
And in the set int statement or set string statement, you basically identify the value with the this thing.
You got it.
That number. Now, suppose there are, suppose you've got a string SQL insert into customer values 1, 2, 3 question mark like that.
Okay.
And suppose you have string SQL2 with another SQL statement.
Okay.
With question marks.
Sure.
Then the numbering will go from the first statement to the next one, or
Key.
how will it work?
Okay, so what do you want to do essentially? You can have strings SQL 2, SQL 3, SQL 100, SQL 1000. What matters is this one, right? Connection dot prepared statement. So you'll only prepare one statement at a time, right? You can prepare one more statement in connection.
Suppose one doesn't do that. Yeah, that's a way of doing that.
Connection dot prepare statements equal to, right? If you do this, you have a SQL 2 here, right? Right? You have something else. You have like insert into order something, right? Now, what do you get? Statement 2 equal to connection dot prepare statement SQL 2. Agree? That's it. So you will get handled to different statement, and that statement 2 will again start from 1 to 2, 1 again, because those question marks are different, because that handle is different. You got handle to that particular prepared statement, right?
Yeah, but see the statement dot set int or statement dot string, that doesn't have anything to do. Statement.
You are going to get handle. You are going to get handle to a different prepared statement like that. You got it, right?
Got it.
Now,
that's fine. Actually, no, I was thinking statement to be a keyword.
No.
But statement is actually that value. Actually,
no. Statement is instance of prepared statement. Statement is a variable that is of type prepared statement. So statement is not a keyword or anything. No.
Keyword. No, I got confused for a moment. Actually,
you can put show on here. That's not a problem. This is of the type prepared statement. That's all. Right?
Yeah, I got it. Here.
Fantastic. No problem. Any other questions?
In SQL, while creating the table, if we want to create both alphanumeric, if it's a characters we give varchar, and if it's numbers we give integers. But if it is going to be an alphanumeric character, then what should we give?
Anybody? Anybody? If you want to take
where it will be either int or string. See, alphanumeric is what? It will be either string. Yeah. See, in SQL you would either have varchar 2 or you would have.
You can use varchar 2. Varchar 2? Okay.
Varchar 2 we can use.
Okay.
Yes, if it is alphanumeric, we can use Varchar.
But is that a different from Java? Uma, my fundamental question, I think, goes back to not only SQL, but with any programming language, right? So Java,
Okay,
C
got it.
Sharp, anything.
Okay.
String str equal to, nothing stops you from declaring Uma123. This is not, is this not alphanumeric?
Yeah, yeah, in
So,
Java I know, but I don't know. It's the same for everything.
Exactly. Yep, it's same. So string, because we are putting it in double quotes, right, or single quotes, whatever that one is, right? And then we can define anything. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not only that, if, for example, win number, if you are not going to do any kind of competition with that particular thing, we can declare it as a string.
Absolutely.
Where, I mean,
for the win number, Uma?
No. When we create a database table, we create a table, right?
String is directly related to varchar.
Yes, in the database table also you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you can use string to capture it in Java is directly translated to varchar 2.
Got it.
Okay. But in some cases, maybe it makes sense to use string here, okay, but you may want to use char of certain things, okay. So for example,
okay,
state code, right? State code is a perfect example where you may want to declare it as a char of 2 because it's always going to be 2 characters. Every single value in the database will have 2 characters. No 0, no 1, no 2. You know what I'm saying? So if it exists, then it's 2. Then char of 2.
Okay.
But here in Java, you will declare it as string, even them.
Yeah. In Java, got it. And for creating the before creating the table, we have to give that grant permission and all, right? In that local OMS is.
You don't need to do it for every single table. What you're doing is for user, that is a user level permission, right? You are saying user, this OMS user can create a table. So if once you give access to create a table, he can create 1, he can create 1,000.
But I was getting some privileges error when I tried to do that.
Grant the privilege to yourself.
And then I said grant all privileges to that database, and only then I was able to create the table.
That could be, I don't know, I didn't read the error, right? But I don't know what that error is, but I'm just concept wise, right? When you give grant create session or grant create table, for example, right? So it's a very specific, go ahead.
Can you please make me the presenter? I will show you.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, so let me comment this out. Yesterday Jyoti and Atana were helping me to work on this. So I gave this create user vehicle, identify by vehicle, grants, all these 3 lines. But without this grant all privileges, when I tried to create the table, it was showing an error. See, can you see the error? You're missing a invalid privilege or something.
Right.
So do we need to?
No.
Because I don't remember you giving this privilege to that to the example.
Absolutely, I gave.
An example, I don't remember you giving this one.
Absolutely. No. I gave. We gave. Absolutely, we gave it. And my point is that, see here, vehicle is a different schema, different user, just you created it, right? You created this user vehicle just now, create user vehicle identified by vehicle, right? Agree?
Yeah.
And you are trying to create the table immediately you will not be able to do it because vehicle has just been created. He doesn't have access to even log in, create session. You did it, right? But after that, we may have given the individual privileges. Grant, create table to vehicle. Grant, delete table, drop table to vehicle. So you can give individual privileges, or you can just say simply grant all privileges to vehicle. But my point is, for every single table, you don't have to create it. Vehicle is a user. You need to understand this, Uma. Vehicle is a user. Vehicle is a schema. This schema can contain 1,000 tables. Are you getting it?
Okay. Yeah.
You don't need to. Oh, my voice is breaking.
No, it's okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, me too.
Anyone else having issues with my voice? Okay.
Now it's okay.
Okay. So maybe it's okay. So Uma,
Yeah.
I'm putting you on mute for a quick second. Let me explain. You're getting some voice. Anyways, so you just created this user called vehicle. User and schema are same in Oracle, right? So you can create 1,000 tables with just one grant permission. Meaning grant all privileges to vehicle or grant create table to vehicle, whatever one of the privileges you give it. Okay? Or you can give all. My point is you don't have to give for each table separately. You are giving these permissions are at the user level. Did you get that? Once user got it, he got it. Once user got the privilege to create a table, he can create one, he can create 1,000. That's my point. And number two, maybe I get the impression that we are not clear about the concept of schema. You don't need to create the schema for every single object that you work on.
No, this is for the car thing that we have created it. But Venkat, the problem here is it is with the query like grant unlimited table space to vehicle. So when she provided that, table space is kind of one word. I think that's why she got the error.
Okay.
See that if you see the error stating at line 5 in the command, it says grant unlimited table space. Table space is one word.
Okay. So she got the error there, unlimited table space. Okay. But all privileges will give everything including table space. Okay. But did you get the point, Uma? So
yes,
we don't need to. One user, typically when you join the companies also, you don't play with schemas, meaning you don't get chance to create a schema or anything like that. 99% no. Okay. There will be schema already, and then there will be one schema will have hundreds of tables. So you always is probably always the wrong word, right? So probably 90% you will play with one schema only, but you will switch back and forth, a couple of schemas, but it's not that you will deal with hundreds of schemas, no, on a day-to-day basis, no. Okay, for the whole project, you may have one or two projects,
got it,
one or two schemas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? No?
Okay, let Uma go first.
Yeah, Uma, have a question? Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry,
speak.
I was looking for that. See, when I was working on the prepare statement and when I was trying to update, I had some error.
Okay. Let's look at it.
So this is the error. So
Okay. Anyone? But I'm not going to help with this one. And also,
SQL syntax error.
people like people who have a lot of experience also just keep quiet for a second. Who deal with databases on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So, but other people, can anyone pitch in and then do it? I mean, today
okay.
I have a very light agenda. So
I think I got it.
What is that?
I said customer ID. It's a primary key, right? So
No.
Look at it.
Set should be outside the quotes.
what's that?
Can you read 9 out of 10 times? 9 out of 10. I'm sorry, Madhavi. I'm sorry. I'll let you speak in a second. Okay. 9 out of 10 times. Read the error slowly and carefully. Will give you the answer. Either it's Java or Oracle or anything.
Okay.
Go ahead, Madhavi. Anyone?
It's tempting. Shall I tell you what?
No.
There is no space between the customers and set.
Can I talk? Can I say
Yeah,
Venkat?
please.
Because update customers after that you need to have space because it's a treating
Yeah,
customers
exactly.
and
That's what I
set
said.
as
Yeah.
one word.
No space between them. Yeah,
I didn't want to give a chance to both of you because I know you guys work on with SQL on a day-to-day basis, but yeah.
It's very tempting. It's tempting to answer.
See here, SQL syntax error exception, which is a subclass of java.sql.sql exception. Missing set keyword. So it is not understood. When I saw that, first I saw that missing set keyword, man. So she must have spelled set wrong. Then I immediately looked at the one character before. So it's like a lot of times you print it, you will understand it. See, update customers. So customers and set. Give me handle. Can you give me? Oh, no, totally fine. Uma, I'll request this keyboard and mouse. Okay, give me that. Okay, look at it. See here, so until this point, so if you print it, what happens is, this is what you will get. This is what is sent to Oracle from your Java. Update customers, set customers equal to something like that. So it is thinking this whole thing as your table only. And you are trying to update it, but where is the set? That is what Oracle is telling you under the hood. You got it? But once you put this guy, now update customer set, it will read it properly, right? So there is no space here. Just give an extra space here. That's it. That's the solution, but you got it, right?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, Shovan.
No.
Oh, sorry. So anyone else?
Yes. I got a question to ask actually.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
See, for this DAO thing, see the DAO thing, see what I understand is I don't see DAO as a special, anything special. It's just a bunch of programs. It's just the organization of the whole thing, right? Like, see, since you're mentioning DAO as a layer, that's what I'm saying that, is that see, it's basically a bunch of programs, organization of the programs, right?
No.
Layer?
Yes. I mean, layer is nothing but it can be a class, right? It's a simple class.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
See your client, whoever that client is, right? I'm not going into the details of who the client is. Okay. Later, once I introduce the service layer, you'll understand that most of the services are the clients.
I had the same question, Venkat. I mean, I thought it was one demo class, one interface, and another.
Right. That's it.
It's a pure encapsulation, pretty much. You
exactly.
Just hide all the implementation.
Every pattern is same. Every pattern. I mean, not every pattern, but a lot of patterns like that. It's like object-oriented principles. That's all. So.
Correct.
So here, right? So all of these patterns are derived from experiences and a lot of pains, right? So I'll mute you guys for a second to talk more about it. So all of these patterns came into picture because of a lot of pain out of experience, out of thousands of projects across the globe, or thousands or millions, right? So what we used to do before DAO is a practical problem. Okay, I mean, I have experienced myself too. So these a lot of service classes are later I can explain about MVC, model view controller. So what happens is directly these JSP pages are various service classes. So everybody knows JDBC. Everybody can think, hey, what's the big deal? I can go and get the customer information. I can go fetch order information. What's the big deal? Absolutely. So this guy can go fetch directly from database. This guy can go directly and fetch the database. And there is a different, different service. This guy will go. Everyone is going and fetching. Everyone is going and fetching. Everyone is going and fetching. That's bad, right? So what we rather want to do is we want to channel all of them to a single source. So we are writing a simple interface and class. That's it. In fact, even if you don't write interface and implementation also, a lot of companies you will see when you join the companies, right? You will see a lot of DAOs are just classes, no interface and implementation. You may think that these guys didn't follow, pure OO, but I'll tell you, there is always the other side of it. Design is always trade-off, right? So a lot of things we will talk about. I'll also talk about the downside of it later. So anyways, the point here is that let's say there is no interface simple, but you just localize it and put it in one class that is DAO. That's it. It can be as simple as one class that is holding all the data access related information for that particular entity. We call that entity, meaning each table. Okay. Customer will have one DAO, order will have another DAO, address will have potentially, not address, but another, what can be, items, let's say items. Okay, items will have items DAO, products will have products DAO, all of that. Okay, so everyone who wants to get the products or update the product or delete the product must go through that. So what are you gaining here? Well, what you're gaining is one source of failure. You don't want 100 places of failures. Okay, you want one source of failure. I mean, it's again good and bad in the bigger picture. Don't think about bigger architectures and all. In this particular context, you have a beautiful maintainability. You have a very less maintenance, because when something is changed, okay, then you just need to change this DAO. That's it. So DAO is a design pattern, but when it comes to implementation, it's a single class. Simple. Nothing more, nothing less. I wanted to repeat that. Nothing more, nothing less. When do you call a class as DAO? If it is holding on to, if it is localizing all the data access logic so that not I mean, not everyone in the project, I mean, every class in the project will directly go to database. Rather, you want all of your classes, whoever needs the information from the database must go through this one. That is why there may be one security service. He wants to check if user exists or not. You know, it's very tempting to say that only security service needs that method. Okay, I'll give you username and password. Check if this guy's credentials are good, or this guy's username and password are good. It's very tempting to think that, hey, just the security guy, you know, let him go directly to database. What happens if somebody needs it? Or what happens if the database is changed it? What happens if someone else need it? Or what happens if our bank is bought by someone else and then we're trying to think about the bigger picture of authentication, etc. Right? So we don't want to go to 10 different places. So we want everyone to go to one particular class. That itself is DAO. And only this guy knows how to. The main important point I want you to understand is how. The how part of it only DAO knows. Meaning how you are fetching the data or how you are storing the data. That how part of it will only be addressed by DAO. So DAO may be using a simple file IO, like how Shovan was doing the other day to fetch the data, or maybe someone else is using some fancy technology like Hibernate and ORM to fetch the data from, you know, relational database, or someone else may be using some other technology to fetch the same data from non-relational databases. All of this is private to this guy only. Only this guy cares about it. When something is changed, your database is changed, or your data access implementation from JDBC to Hibernate, that is the most logical step or most practical thing that can happen. Database changing is not practical, to be honest. But DAO will still help you with that, but that's not that practical. But moving from JDBC to Hibernate, absolutely possible. Moving from Spring JDBC to JPA, absolutely possible. Moving from Hibernate to something else, fantastically possible. Okay, so at that time, you don't want to change all of these guys. You want to go to one place to change it, and magically, that is why I was, I was showing you this, how beautiful this interface is, right? Sorry. Look at it. Any mention of any kind of implementation here? Shovan, did you get this point? The other day I was trying to explain this to you for your, how top level, how neat the interface should be, and implementation worries about all of these details. See here, Venkat Krishna, I think he asked a very right question the other day. Why can't I return the result set? But the point is that you are leaking the implementation details. If you give the result set, happy for today. If you change the implementation from JDBC to something else, then that's when the problem is. You don't want to do that. You want to handle the whole extraction from the result set and any other information, transformation from database types to Java types, everything has to happen here. And you provide the list of customers. I don't care how you get it or how many layers you're using between you and your processing. I don't care. When I ask you get all customers, you give me the list of customers. My customer object is nice. This is my customer nice object. Okay. So that's about it. Did you guys get that? Did you guys get that concept? You need to get it. Once you join the companies, I'm counting on you guys. It's like not just one of the students. It's just, I want all of you to be very passionate, very understand all of these principles at the core level, so that you can take the same principle and apply it somewhere. That's the main idea. Once really it gets into your bloodstream, right, all of these concepts, then what happens is, when you find a different scenario somewhere else, you will use this one, you will use the same technique and say, hey, why don't we use the same pattern? Right? So, but only one thing is, pattern has the context in it. Pattern has both pros and cons. So just understand the very intention of it and apply it based on needs. Just because you have the hammer, don't look for, I have the hammer, nail, 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 nail. So when you have the hammer, so whatever you see could be a nail. So that's dangerous attitude. Okay, just because you have the solution, you don't create a problem. You got it? So when you get an opportunity, keep all of these tools in your tool set, and then as soon as the problem arises, then, oh yes, let me use this pattern. So, okay, enough about it. Any other questions? Did you all understand to its core? I always emphasize on the core, the fundamentals, right? That's what we are here to learn. Okay. Fantastic. So now let me wrap up this DAO concept with one last point, and after that it's all yours. You can work on some problem. I'll not take more than a few minutes today, probably 30 minutes maybe. So exception handling. So one thing I want you to pay attention to, the SQL exception here, is that in JDBC is great in a lot of aspects, but the biggest downside of it, biggest con to JDBC is the poor exception handling. So every single statement throws one generic exception called SQL exception. When you try to get the connection, if you go here, see here, your rs.close, statement.close, in fact, to get the connection, which one throws a SQL exception? Your driver manager.get connection. Starting from this one, every single statement, this guy throws SQL exception. Okay, this guy throws SQL exception. This guy throws SQL exception. Every single line here throws one generic exception. It could be a disastrous problem where database is down. The whole database is down. The whole company could be dying. Or it could be as simple as the syntactical error that Uma just ran into. It may be a simple SQL syntax error. But in all the scenarios, you will get the SQL exception. And unfortunately, the most frustrating thing is that the SQL exception, 9 out of 10 times, or 99.9% of the times, we don't know how to recover from it. If database is down, if we absolutely know that its database is down, then probably we can retry it after a couple of seconds. But if the SQL syntax is wrong or something else is wrong, in all other cases, pretty much it's an unrecoverable exception. Why did they design it as a checked exception? So in the checked exception, what am I doing? Other than printing the log, I'm not doing anything. This is a bad exception handling. That's a different story. I'll talk about it in a second. But SQL exception, right? It's a checked exception. So your code, unfortunately, is actually cluttered with half of it is this ceremony, try, catch, finally, getting the connection, getting the results, the statement, result set, closing them. 50% of the code in JDBC is actually you're making compiler happy. Yes, your 50% of it is you're making your compiler happy. That is called boilerplate code. It's a bad thing. Okay, boilerplate code. Meaning too much ceremony. It's not simple way to do it. It's like too many lines of code you write to do a simple thing. Okay, a lot of people, non-Java developers, make fun of it. I mean, Java has its strengths, so but definitely this kind of code. That's why there are a lot of technologies emerged or existed to solve these simple things. Just to go to database and populate into into an object. This much story, this much. I have to do it. Come on, guys, we are in, right? So, anyways, a lot of frameworks came into picture because of that. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But the point is the SQL exception. Let's talk about it. So, every statement here throws SQL exception. And SQL exception, as we know, it's tied to JDBC. So, JDBC is the implementation. Okay? So, now we print it. We printed the stack trace, but your client, if at all, if the database is down, he has no clue that there was a SQL exception. There is a big fat stack trace printed out in your logs or in your console, but your client doesn't know. Whoever is calling has no clue. He thinks that it's all successful. What? Yes. The reason is you are printing it and not doing anything about it. This is called swallowing the exception. You just swallowed the exception. You have not done anything about it. It's a poor exception handling, right? So it's your responsibility to tell your client that there's something wrong happened. Agree? So, and let him print it. So we all agree that there is no point in catching the SQL exception. Okay, I mean this one client can do it. Don't worry. Okay, so we all assume that this guy is, but of course we get all of these errors, and now we'll say that what, I'm not interested in, because I'm not recovering from it. If there is no recovery, then there is no point in catching it, right? I'll throw it. Okay. When implementation is throwing it, it's not part of the method signature, because its method signature comes from the interface. Obviously, your compiler will slaps you, says that, hey, your customer DAO did not throw this exception, so how come you're doing it? Well, then we'll change the interface also, add exceptions to this guy. So everyone is happy. Okay? Now, make sense? Now, happy, couple of lines of code, we eliminated it. Eliminating the code is always a good thing for us developers. I mean, we feel very happy about it because we found a simpler way of doing things. Always, we should be proud of ourselves. Well, by looking at it, there is a small problem with this method compared to other methods. Can anyone point this? There is a small design issue here compared to other methods. Can anyone point to that? Can anyone point?
In this method, you are really throwing the exception.
Go ahead.
Yeah, in this method, you are throwing the exception over here. So at the higher level, this is a client. This is a client for. This is a server for somebody. So at the client.
Not server.
that exception.
Server is a bad. I'm sorry for correcting it, but it's
it's giving a service.
Exactly, service provider. Yeah, yes. You got. I think you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the client has to really. Eventually, the client will get that too.
Actually, just small. Sorry for a quick second, everyone. I wanted to clarify one thing. Did you all understand what client means? Whoever is using it, that's what we meant. Nothing more.
The invoker.
Exactly. Nothing more, nothing less. Here, it's a demo class. This guy is doing it. So this guy is the client for it, right? So this customer DAO JDBC impl demo is the client for your customer DAO and customer DAO JDBC impl. Yeah, now go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying is this, that by making it, by putting his throws exception over here,
okay,
we are compelling, the client may not know that, by the way.
What do you mean client may not? Oh, let's take one step at a time. What do you mean by client may not know it? What does it mean actually?
Like what's there in the customer
Let's read one step back, okay? Let's read this guy. What we are saying here is in this antenna, you want to speak? Let me finish my thought.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So customer DAO or any interface for that matter is a contract, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are telling your intention. What you are saying is, when somebody calls this get all customers, I will give them list of customer as an output. And I could, see here I'm saying that, I could potentially throw a SQL exception, meaning when something goes wrong or in whatever the scenario, I could, or this method could potentially throw a SQL exception. So what I'm saying here, be prepared to do something about it. And SQL exception is a checked exception. So be prepared to do about it. Either you catch it or, come on, anyone, either you catch it
or pass it to
rethrow it, right? Either you catch it or rethrow it to your client, right? So, so your client knows clearly, as part of your contract, you are telling that, hey, I could potentially throw, meaning when something goes wrong, when you are asking me to give me all the customers, but if I fail to do that, if I fail to connect to the database, if I fail to do it, okay, I'll throw this exception, right? So there's nothing wrong in it, right? But there is something that can be improved. What is that? Think. Anyone? It's mainly customized exception. Okay, let's speak, Uma. You are on the very, very right track, but tell me, problem first. I'm not asking for the solution. What is the problem here actually? What's wrong with this one?
It will mix up with, see, it is already, SQL exception is, I think that's what Uma is also trying to say. SQL exception is already there. So give it some other, I'm thinking of giving it some other name.
What's wrong with this SQL exception? SQL exception is, you already have it, java.sql exception. What's wrong with this one?
I think we depend.
Oh, let's have Antenna speak for a second. Earlier also he was trying to speak and yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that this SQL will depend on the database. Rather, if we handle it on Java code, then it will be
SQL exception
if there is a way
depends on the database. So who is giving you the SQL exception?
Database.
It's a database. Yeah.
Come on, guys. It's part
based on the database.
It is part of your JDBC API, right? It's part of your JDBC API, right? Now tell me, Rohit, you are trying to speak earlier. Now with all of this information, connect the dots.
Basically, when you give a exception from JDBC API, the user or client may not understand. So what you do is like you get the SQL exception, customize it to a new exception which the user understands.
Why? User can understand SQL exception too.
you know, there might be a chance that tomorrow the customer DAO interface may change. So that time, to avoid that scenario, you are customizing the exception.
Yes, very, very, very correct. And let me put it differently. Let me put it. I think I got your intention. Okay. Anyone else want to put it in a different way?
Can we just just throw SQL?
No. There is no syntactical issues, nothing wrong with it. This absolutely works. Everyone will be happy. No problem with it. Okay? Is that Sailesh who was speaking?
Yes.
Okay. No problem with it. Okay? But there is a slight design problem here. What the design problem is, I'll tell you. This is your client, whoever this guy is, right? So this guy is calling customer DAO. This guy is customer DAO. Right? And now you're calling it and you're throwing a SQL exception. Right? Because SQL exception is part of JDBC. That is why you are throwing it. Very good. Because you are implementing, you are using JDBC as your implementation to fetch the data from database. I want you to pay attention to that statement. You are using JDBC technology to connect to the database and get the data and give it back. Since every statement in JDBC throws SQL exception, you are throwing the SQL exception back to the caller. The problem is, if your team or your team lead, architect, whoever that guy is, or you decide to change from JDBC for some nifty implementations like Hibernate, there is no SQL exception there. SQL exception existed because of JDBC. Hibernate will throw some other exception. There is an exception called Hibernate exception, right? So what's the big deal? Well, there is no big deal. Right? So you say that, you come back and say that, you know what? Hey, starting today, we decided to change the implementation from JDBC to Hibernate. So please excuse, and we are changing all of them. We are changing all of them to, not from SQL exception, from Hibernate exception. Fantastic. You only have just 500 clients that are using all of these classes. There are only 500. Every one of them now has to be changed to handle the new Hibernate exception just because you changed your implementation. Are you not defeating the very purpose of DAO? Are you, when we started the whole discussion about DAO, I thought you said that I will be ignorant of how you are getting the data. I will be ignorant. I have no clue of how you're getting it. Maybe you're using JDBC, maybe you're using file storage, maybe you're using Hibernate Fancy, okay? Or maybe you are reading from Excel and giving it to me. So when you change from reading from Excel to a relational database like Oracle, why are you making me change it? I thought that's your local stuff, and I thought that whenever you change it, everything happens magically. Because you leaked the implementation details to your client. This is part of the implementation. You guys agree with that? So the SQL exception is part of JDBC, and now you are leaking the implementation details to your client. So when you change the implementation from JDBC to something else, then all the clients are forced to change it because you are changing the contract. Interface is the contract between you and your clients, right? You are changing the contract from SQL exception to Hibernate exception. Then everybody has to change it. Are you getting it? That is why hide all the exceptions that your implementation throws. Hide all of them. Hold on to yourself, but provide a generic exception. hide all the exceptions that your JDBC or Hibernate or whatever them is, okay? Hold on to yourself. Catch all of them or do something about it. But you throw a generic exception. That could be DAO exception. You create a customized exception called DAO exception. Right? So you catch the SQL exception, but you rethrow it as a DAO exception, as a different exception that you created it. It's a custom exception. So tomorrow, when you change from JDBC to Hibernate, you catch Hibernate exception, but you still throw the DAO exception, and you never get to change your contract. You'll always throw DAO exception. So there's no problem for all the 500 clients when you change from JDBC to something else. He, in fact, does not even know the fact that you are using JDBC to fetch the data from database. Today you are using JDBC, tomorrow you read directly from Excel. Maybe that makes sense for your requirement, right? But your client is ignorant of the fact that you are using. So your client is ignorant of your implementation. Your client does not know about how you are getting it, that how details we are encapsulating them and we are giving a high-level public API, high-level public contract or high-level contract to the customers that will, we don't want to say will not change, but it does not depend on the implementation. Did you get the point really in your heart? Did you get the point? Are you all convinced?
Venkat, then let me just make a little, abstract sounding and summarize it. So what you mean is, in order to keep, and then that's based on, I think, antennas. Somebody suggested, I don't remember the name, that in order to make the customer DAO more generic, which will, sometimes it may be used for accessing database, sometimes for Hibernate or whatever, that exception has to be given a certain generic, has to be made more generic, right? That's what you're saying.
You don't want to, more generic point is that you never want to leak any of the implementation details to your client. So, let alone the exceptions.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
So the fact of you connecting to the database, that also you are considering as an implementation details.
Absolutely.
Connecting to the database. Absolutely. And therefore SQL
why do I have to know?
Or Hibernate.
Yes,
okay.
All of it. I'm a security service. Okay, I'm a security service here. Okay, I'm calling your customer DAO to get the customer details, right? Why do I have to know the fact that you're actually using a DAO under the you're using a database under the hood? Why do I have to know? I don't have to know, right?
Okay.
If I don't know, then you can easily change if you need to change it. Agree? That's the point.
Okay.
So hide all the implementation details, since JDBC, which is the implementation of your DAO, right? Catch it, you catch it, but you throw it throw as a generic exception which could exist beyond JDBC. Even if you decided not to use JDBC anymore, your DAO exception still exists. Even if you go to file stream, you don't have to change the contract, right? Are you guys getting it? Everybody got it? Man, silence for everything. So only I'm getting excited?
Yeah, I got it. Sorry.
Okay. So that's the point. I hope you got it. Yeah.
How will it impact the base DAO? In the base DAO, there is an SQL exception sitting over there.
However,
that will also become DAO exception.
We don't know. let's look at it. Let's take one step at a time, right? So I can't answer that right now. So we'll do it whatever makes sense. So first let's create a generic exception called DAO exception.
Okay, I get it.
Okay. So now your DAO exception, now you can make the design call, hey, do I want my DAO to be checked exception, or does it make sense to, does anyone, can anyone recover from my DAO exception? Can anyone do anything about it if a DAO exception arises? If you think so, then design it as a checked exception. How do you design it as a checked exception? Well, all the checked exceptions directly inherit from java.lang.exception. But if you think that, you know what, I'm not going to make half my clients to write that boilerplate code, try catch for nothing, because they can't do anything about it anyway. They can't recover from it anyway. It's useless code. If you think that, that's a great design too. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm just telling you both of them. Right? In that case, you can design it as a runtime exception or unchecked exception, so that compiler will not force them to handle it anymore. If something happens, like database is down or a SQL syntax error, it will bubble up all the way. Because nobody catches it, it bubbles up all the way, probably right before it's going to the browser. But all of this exception stack trace showing it to the customer on the front end is also bad. So somewhere there you will catch it and do something about it. Agree? So it's up to you here. But since nobody will do anything about it, or I'm a big fan of runtime exceptions. Sorry. But I can design it as a checked exception. Okay? I'll just create a constructor, DAO exception, and then I can take this whole throwable and then string error message, and then super already has that. Oh, it's reverse, huh? Okay, you can do reverse, or you can do this way too. This guy is exception, this guy is error message, or if you want to be consistent, you can even reverse it, guy. Well, I'll not talk about really any details about how do we really create the exceptions and all that stuff, this constructors. I think that's beyond the scope of this discussion, right? This is how we create a simple checked exception. Or if you decide to create runtime exception, simple. I think we all got it. Now, what happens here is that, it's not here, in the implementation, I will catch, so I will go back to my catch SQL exception. Sure, I will print it, okay, for my developers' knowledge. As I told you, no production code will have this ex.print stack trace or e.print stack trace. Ideally, we do logging, okay? Log.error is what we typically do it. That's, again, different times, different days. So, okay. So what I'll do is, I'm catching the SQL exception, but I'm going to throw a new exception to my client called DAO exception. Okay? And I will throw this guy as is. Okay? I can throw this guy as is. Or you can put some error message and do it. Saying that error occurred while selecting. Something like this. Okay? But why am I giving this whole exception also under the hood? Well, Can anyone tell me? I mean, it's very complicated. Probably, I mean, it's a decent complicated question. Why am I'm catching the SQL exception? I'm giving it to my caller. But
since you want to show some hint of the exception apart from the customized message.
My client will get it as a DAO exception, but if he ever opens up and looks at it, what I'm doing essentially is I'm wrapping the SQL exception with a bigger DAO exception. That's all I'm doing. So I'm essentially wrapping. This is a SQL exception, right? I'm just wrapping this guy with a DAO exception. That's all I'm doing. So I'm giving it as a DAO exception, but if he needs, what is the caused by of the stack trace? Okay, we got the DAO exception, but what is the under the hood exception? Then he can really trace back. He can. Okay, but your compiler, your contract, everything will say that DAO exception, DAO exception, DAO exception. If you change from SQL exception to tomorrow from Hibernate exception, you do the same thing. So you are just wrapping it with a big wrapper called DAO exception. But you are also giving, if you just give this one, right? What happens is you are swallowing it. You are not giving the underlying the details. You are giving a generic one. This may be good in some cases for the very end client. If you want to keep all the errors to your developers, but want to provide a generic exception message, then you do this one. But generally what we do is we give the whole exception also to the client. So if he decides to print or if he decides to do something else, then he'll get it. Okay, so since I'm throwing a DAO exception from my method, what should I do now? My compiler is already complaining about something. Can anyone help me here? I'm throwing a DAO exception, which is a checked exception. So I'm throwing a checked exception from a line of code in my method. So what should my method do?
You should throw that DAO exception.
It should include it in the method signature.
Yeah.
It should include it in the method signature as throws DAO exception. That is what it is complaining about, right? Control 1, add throws. See here, since your one of the lines of code is throwing the DAO exception, which happens to be a checked exception, you must declare it in your method signature. If you declare it in your method signature, what you're telling is that, hey, when you ask for the get all customers, I'll give you the list of customers, but I could potentially throw the DAO exception. So be prepared to handle it. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, this is an implementation. Obviously, method signature has to come from your interface. So your interface also must throw it. So let's go ahead and now the SQL exception is not required anymore. Only your DAO exception. Make sense? Okay. Did you guys get it? I'll just copy paste everything. I mean, once we understand the concept, we just copy paste. Create statement. Error occurred while inserting or creating a customer. Something like that. In fact, this one is also not required. We do it reverse. No, I didn't understand that. Updating error occurred while.
You said you will understand and then copy paste, right?
So. Okay, yeah. I mean, come on, he can't compare, right? It's as is. You will get there very soon.
No, I'm just saying I'm just saying you said you will understand and then copy, right? I said I'll first copy and then I'll
understand. Agree. Yeah, that's definitely, we all came that way, right? At least I did that way. Some of the concept that I'm telling you now, I learned after good 10 years of experience, I didn't know why I was doing, but I've been doing it. But later one day, understood it. So don't worry. I've been there. And I'm always there, so no worries. Okay. In my demo class, obviously, demo is my client. See, now my compiler is slapping me and saying that unhandled exception type DAO exception. Hey, DAO.get all customers. Okay, this guy you are throwing it. It's supposed to give you list of customer. Fantastic. But this guy could potentially throw a DAO exception. So what do you want to do about it? Well, I don't want to catch it because I don't know what to do about it. I cannot recover from it, right? So I'll just rethrow it.
Handle it.
I'll just rethrow it.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. But if I can handle it, I should, right? So this is the reason, since I as a client, I'm also the client here, right? Since I know the client situation also, client cannot really do anything when DAO exception happens. Then in that case, why to design that as a checked exception? Why not runtime exception is my point. I think you all got it. If not, I'll explain again. Fantastic. That's it. So that's about it. Exception handling and DAO and
look at this project where you're working. Hello?
Yes, someone was trying to speak.
Yeah, I said this project where you're working, this JDBC 2015, this one is in your system, right? This is not in the place from where we can check out.
No, absolutely, it is there. I'm checking in every day.
I did a team update right some time ago, but it didn't bring the exception.
Oh, you mean okay? You mean this classes? Okay. See here, look at it, guys. Question mark means this is my local file. It is not is there in the server. This greater than means that I have some changes that I have not yet checked in. Oh, so if you're talking about these ones, yes, I have not checked in. Let me look at what changes I have it here. Let me do a synchronize with repository.
It's okay, you can do it.
No. I want to take a look at it. What's this guy actually? Why did I change it? Insert Windows equals show one. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one I'll probably leave it as is. Yeah, I'll leave it. So initially the pane. So I'll do a revert here. So now I'll check in everything that I have. Team commit. Ideally, I should put a comment there. I should never commit without a comment because you know that. Why? It helps you with the history. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else?
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Venkat.
Absolutely.
You have already said it earlier. With a DAO exception, we just make it generic, right?
Which is okay.
So whenever there is a change for the database, from JDBC we go to JDA or Hibernate, then we still need to change those SQL exceptions, right?
Oh, absolutely. See here? It's a good point. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So here.
So we are going to be
look at it. Look at it.
Yeah.
I hope I got your question. Let's see. See here. Let's say this guy's, you wrote some Hibernate code there. Then that guy is throwing Hibernate exception like this, right? See, you are catching it, but you are throwing it as a DO exception. So your client will not have to change. That's my point. Are you getting it? Antenna.
But the code has to be refactored, right?
Hey,
it has to be changed in every
absolutely. That is very good question. Let's understand that to really deep. Ouch. Let's understand it. So what his point is, it's a great question. So here you have a DAO, and now you're using JDBC, right? And you have these many clients. Okay, you have just a couple of hundred clients. Okay, so what his point is, if you change from JDBC to Hibernate, don't I need to change this one? How can you implement this without changing it? Absolutely, you have to change this one. But my point is, your changes are local only to these guys. All of this, anyone changing? None of these clients have to change it because they're all coding to interface. They all care about whatever you wrote there in customer DAO, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And also, there may be one very sensible question, okay? Like this. Someone maybe was actually expecting one of you will ask this one. Look at this one. I said my customer DAO JDB simple demo. So everyone is going to interface, makes sense. But here we are actually changing this implementation, right? We are putting already JDBC here. When you change from JDBC to Hibernate, this guy will change customer DAO Hibernate Impl, right? Right? Well, that one, you have to do it. But no more method changes, no more, no other changes, no other contractual changes. In fact, even this one, we don't have to change it later when we talk about more advanced frameworks like Spring Framework. It will automatically provide you this one. If you have to somewhere provide the implementation. You have to reference your implementation somewhere, but that's going to be XML, and it will magically going to give you the implementation. You don't have to even write this one. I'll show you code later on that you don't have any implementation in your code. Pure interface. You don't have this new. We are doing it because it's a simple public static void main. We need more advanced topics to be able to do that. Okay? Hang in there for now. Okay. Anything else?
This is a basic question though, but you keep saying in one of the topics you said that the chain goes like a browser, web layer, service layer, database,
yes.
And then
we are not there yet.
JDBC DAO and then the database.
Right.
So can you please explain that with an example like web? I understand browser.
I can't explain right now. So I can't. Okay, but that's the homework for tomorrow. Because we are wrapping up with JDBC, the very next topic is going to be the whole web application thing. So master this one, you will understand. And from here onwards, from tomorrow onwards, we eat web, we drink web, we do all of that. Okay? So all web fun starting from tomorrow. You will understand what is a browser, what is a web server, what is a HTTP server, so all fun. Can we do a JUnit example? I think I did JUnit more exhaustively than any other batch before. So I'm going to let you guys handle this one for JDBC. Okay, you go ahead and create JUnit. I think we spent decent time on the whole JUnit and test driving this time. So go ahead and do it. But I did. In my previous batches, I did. So it's a trade-off, right? So you take care of that. If you want to look at it, it's somewhere, probably this one, JDBC and DAO2. Here I must have not test driving really, but instead of public static void main, I just wrote a simple DAO. If you really insist, just to make you happy, antenna, we can do one. I'll do select. Okay. I'll do select. Where is our unit test guy? And then you can do the rest. In fact, there is a concept called mocking that will be beautiful for this kind of examples, but I think that's too much for now. I'm not going to talk about it. If you're all really excited towards the end, call me one day and say, hey, can you talk about mocking? I'll talk about it. I love to talk about it. I'm a big fan of it. So, but I really don't want to.
But it's good.
Yeah.
But it's good to have an idea on mocking. Actually, it's really
I agree.
Awesome thing to know.
I agree. But I don't want to mix it with the course. Rather, you guys call me.
Yeah.
Once we are done with the basic stuff, right? Call me, or I'll call you guys and say, hey, couple of hours, let's talk about mocking. But focus on, because I don't want to deviate from the actual topics. That's the main point, Rohit.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
So
yeah, maybe at the end that's fine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So customer DAO, JDBC impl test. Okay. Let's create a test method. Oops. Test select. Okay. And then I'm going to do it pretty fast. Okay. I think we know it. If not, we'll just refer to it. So then public void setup. I'll do a setup here. This is an add before, meaning before running every test class. I'm just doing a new customer DAO JDBC impl. Okay. Actually, before we quickly run this one, Showan was asking, hey, what do we do with the base DAO? I forgot that. See here. So the base DAO, we did not really have to change anything because the get connection is still throwing the SQL exception, but the subclass, where is your get connection? When you call this get connection, it is throwing a SQL exception, and you are catching the SQL exception and throwing it as a DAO exception. So your base DAO did not have to be changed. Are you convinced, Mr. Sean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So test select, right? It's pretty simple. Exception by default it goes. So I want to be very specific. DAO dot get all customers. I'll get the list of customers. Right? Customers. Now can one of it? Okay, this one I'll throw it. If I put the throws here, if at all I get a DAO exception, then then this test case will fail. Now, can you tell me DAO dot get all customers? What do I do here? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me what do I do here? How do I ascertain that it worked? It gave me list of customers. Maybe it gave me empty customers. I mean empty bag, empty list of customers. So anyone?
Yeah, put in a try catch block.
Assert null.
Try catch block.
No try catch block.
Assert null.
Asserting, right?
Assert null.
Test. Okay. Sorry. I didn't get the question.
Asserting. So assert not null, sure. Assert not null, sure. I mean, a list will never be null. Actually, it will be empty, sure. I mean, just for your satisfaction, I know we can definitely do it, but it will never be null. It will never be null because nobody designs a list. Nobody returns a null from a list. Even when we design also, we should return an empty list. So assert false, meaning customers dot is empty. So I'm making sure that this is false, meaning it should never be empty is what I'm saying. After I get this one should be non-empty is what I'm checking. But if you know precisely how many customers are there, you can check that one too. How many customers we have currently? Yuri, Venkata, Uma, Shovan, Lina. 5 people, right? Okay. Assert equals, I'm expecting 5 and my actual should be size, whatever the size is, right? I wrote 3 asserts. This one is not required really because it will never be null. It's always true. So don't worry about it. Yep, it worked. But this is a bad assert because in the database, it will always be changing, right? So this is a bad assert. In fact, I can talk more about something else, but I'll leave. In fact, the challenge with the database is that you don't know how many customers you have at the time. You can only check for non-empty, right? But what does it gain you? It doesn't gain you much, really. Maybe you should have 1 million customers, but it gave you 1 customer. 1 customer is also not empty, right? So that assert, you have to write, based on your context, you have to write more sensible asserts. So, okay. You can do something like assert true, okay. This customers dot size is at least, size is greater than 3. I know there are at least 3 customers there. So then you do something sensible based on your context. In fact, testing the DAOs is always a little challenging with simple JUnit because your database is always changing, right? When you run it, someone else may be running some delete, someone may be running a delete test which wiped out the whole database and your test case will fail. So that is why your unit testing, strictly talk about it from the bookish side, strictly very core object oriented people, what they say is unit testing should never depend on any environment. You should never hit the database. Okay, but how do I test the DAO? That's where the concept of mocking comes into picture. But this is one way to do it. Which one? The one I showed you. But more complicated way or more probably the right way to do it is there's a concept called mocking. You do that. It just you are testing your code. Well, if your database is down, my point is you are trying to connect to the database and database is down for maintenance and then your test case will fail. I should not be penalized when database is down for maintenance. Are you with me? Nothing wrong with my code. It's just the environmental issue. So all of these questions, I'm not going to answer it. I'll leave them as questions for you to explore. But there are answers. There are some nice articles, nice top books about it. Since it's not the main topic, I'm not going to talk about it. As I told you, once the class is over, you guys show me interest. I'll talk about mocking. I always love to talk about it. So similarly, you can do inserts. Okay, in the case of insert, what do? You insert a row, and then how do you know that it's inserted successfully? You go to database again, get the customer, and then see if your customer has been inserted there. That's how you assert it. That's the only way. Right? Are you guys getting it? So, okay. I want to leave it at that. This is how you do it. Antenna, you are sort of happy?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. I know, you can, I think you got the concept, right?
Yeah. We'll do much more on the collaborative.
Exactly. Do it.
Do it.
Whatever you're doing it here, whatever you're doing it in, so whatever you're doing it here, right? You just do it in your insert. Simple.
Yeah.
You just do the same thing, but you are also asserting it because you want your unit test to be automatable, right?
Yeah.
So how do you assert it? When you insert it, how do you make sure that it's really inserted into the database? Well, again, go to make one more call, say that is why typically every DAO will have, every DAO will typically, rather than going, calling get all customers, every DAO will have this typical method, find by primary key. It's a very popular one. Find by primary key. So you give me the primary key, int customer ID or int ID, okay? And I will give you the customer object for that. Only for one ID. This one, it gives all the customers, right? But if you know precisely which ID you inserted, call this method. You implement this first of all, okay? And call this method to verify. Did you remotely get it? Anyone? But master these concepts first. It's simple. Okay? I want you to implement this method in your customer DAO JDBC impl. So you go ahead and implement it. I'm not going to implement it. So what I'm doing, simple query. Select star from customers. Put a where class there. Where customer underscore ID equal to question mark. And then implement that. Once you get it, once you get the result set, you populate into customer and give it back. Can you do that? Is it fair to ask everybody to do that?
Yeah.
This is going to help you in your unit test here, especially for insert. Once you insert, this is how you'll make sure that your insert is successful. Okay, guys. That's it.
Yes, unit test is the most boring part of Java.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
It's
I don't want to do that.
I know. All the developers don't want to do it. I know, but it's extremely important piece. Okay.
But that really helps a lot.
Yeah.
It saves plenty amount of time. When you work on Agile, then you will come to know what's the value of JUnits.
Yep.
Else it kills your time. Your whole code is running into issues. Then you will come to know. Maybe a waterfall may not give you that importance.
Okay. So that's the most important piece. I want all of my students at least to take away. Okay, I want all of you to be champions in your workplaces. Okay, that's my intention. I always work that way. Not one of the developers. No, if a guy coming from, if a student is coming from me, I will have that expectation saying, this guy should be the go-to person, or this lady should be the go-to person. So please do that. Unit testing is the most important, and a lot of people hire based on that these days. So absolutely. Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely, right?
Yeah. Okay. Definitely, sir. Okay. So now, since I did all of this nicely, I think it's fair to ask for a favor now. I'm going to ask all of you to watch this video called HTML. Okay? I briefly introduced about HTML and maybe little bit of JavaScript. Don't worry about it. worry about JavaScript. Okay. Here I talk about what is a browser, what is a server, what is browser good for. It's simple things, and those are very. Go to W3 Schools HTML and learn also. Okay. This is an excellent, simple, simplistic course. So W3 Schools. And if any of you have, I'm not recommending or I'm not doing one way or the other, if you have this Code School, if you have a Code School account, they charge you about $25 per month. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not recommending anything, but these guys have some decent front-end stuff. See here, HTML, CSS path. They talk about basic front-end fundamentals, front-end foundations, formations, etc. Yeah, I have Code School account, but that can be not supposed to share. So you can get it. Okay, if you like. Oh, by the way, Code School has a sequel also. Code School also has a sequel. Recently, they added a sequel, I thought.
Venkat, I always get emails from Code School, but I am a little curious. See, then does one have to really take their courses like this, or it's just, how does it work, like in terms of timing?
Oh, timing. They have a shorter videos, like each video is only 10 minutes, and then they will release you for exercises. So they will have a small execution environment there itself in the browser, and you will practice there itself.
But not VM, right? They won't give a VM or anything, right?
No. Let's look at it. I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay. So look at it. My front-end skills, you know that. I'm not good. So, oh yeah, this one, try SQL. They have this nice SQL videos also. So, okay. They're front-end guys, heavy front-end guys. JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap, and Node.js, Angular, all of this. Okay, it's a decent thing. Okay, now I wanted to show you.
So do they have anything on MongoDB? Do they have anything on MongoDB?
Probably not. I have not seen that.
Okay.
I've not.
Mostly front-ends, right?
Maybe I've not seen it. See here.
Okay.
So this guy is doing something. So he's asking me to solve something, etc. So this is how it looks, and then you submit it. Then, oh, sorry, try again. You're wrong. So he's asking something. So, okay, this is your JavaScript. This is your HTML. This is how it looks. This is slides, hints, etc. Okay, that's it. That's about couple of things. So yeah, my style of it, obviously, well, you don't expect 10 minutes. It's rather good 2 hours video. I talk fundamentals. What exactly is a server? What exactly happens when you go to Amazon.com? Under the hood, what happens? What is DNS lookup? I teach all the, I want you to connect the dots, every single dot to be connected. That's my style of teaching. So I talked about it here. And then basic HTML. And I'm telling you very basic, because my HTML, if you ask me to rate my front-end skills, I probably rate 3 out of 10 or something. So I'm that bad. So, but.
Let me ask you this. When you said front-end, see the Java web technology that we are doing with you, that is what I understand as the front-end, right? But if you mean something else,
no, it's actually front-end. What I mean by that is HTML, web designing, and JavaScript, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So if you ask me to design, some very attractive pages, I can do that. Yeah, UI. Jyoti said UI. So, okay. it's gaining popularity. I think every Java developer must be able to know more. I was not bragging when I said 3 out of 10. I was like very bad about it. So I should get out of that very soon. So we have to be good in Java, jQuery, CSS, JavaScript, yes, HTML, all of that. But my job involves some.
Okay. See, there is another this thing area of Java programming, that is your AWS, Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
AWS. And do you know how that works or what it is? Actually, I got one contract once, but I could not really execute it because I did not know much.
Okay.
Though I knew the base Java. So how that works, or where does one learn that and things like that?
For that, first of all, you need web context. Web concepts. All of this you need to have it.
Okay.
And then.
Okay.
And then AWS is nothing but an environment where you can deploy your web applications. Okay. See, 10 years back, when I'm creating something like a example, I'm taking example, right? 1-800-flowers.com. Okay. I'm nowhere related to this guy, but I just for some reason came to my mind, so I've taken this example. Okay. So you built this 1-800-flowers.com, and then you need to, once you build that nice website, you need to host it somewhere, right? You need to deploy it somewhere, right? Let's say it's a dynamic website, okay? And then you need to be able to log in, you need to be able to buy all the stuff, credit card, all of that. So you happen to build it in Java or any other, for that matter, PHP or simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever it is. You need to host it somewhere. When you go to 1-800-flowers.com, so somebody is giving you the HTML pages, right? So it's going to a server. So where do you deploy it? There are a lot of options to deploy it, and one of the most popular one are everything I'm saying most popular. So one of the popular ones is AWS, Amazon Web Services. It's a cloud-based services. So they will give you.
Yeah, but what it appeared to me was, I'm sorry.
What they will give you essentially is they will give you a computer somewhere on their servers, Sean. That's all. You get access to it from your machine, and then deploy your WAR file. That's it. We did it. I played with it.
During that time when I played, I basically got that in my Eclipse also.
Yeah.
I hooked it up with my Eclipse, but it seemed like there would be messages over there, and it was basically a process of reading messages through Java. Like they would put some information about banking or like some transactions. There would be some messages, and basically it was a lot of reading and passive messages. That kind of thing.
I'm not familiar with that much really. I don't know. But I played with AWS decent, but I told you my view of it. I just bought a server. Oh, by the way, all of you I encourage, but not today though. Once I teach this one, right? What I'll do is I'll ask all of you, once all of this probably, everything is done. Then I will ask all of you to build one website, take every Amazon account. All of you probably have Amazon accounts. Every Amazon account will give you 1 year of one server free. Okay? And I'll ask all of you to deploy your WAR files there. I'll probably point to a couple of articles later on. It's very fun. Thanks, Jyoti. Jyoti has provided this, this website, htmlgoodies.com. So apparently this is for very basics. So my expectation is that I want all of you to come to my class on Thursday by watching this video at least. Okay, get some, either my video or something online or both. Both is better always, because my concepts are, especially this one was good 3 years back video. So my skills were even worse at the time. So, but watch it, come back, I want to talk about the dynamic part of it. If you come with a little bit of HTML knowledge, and then I want all of you to watch at least my video. The reason I'm saying is, I not only jump into HTML, I will not jump into these concepts. I'll first talk about what is a server, what is a browser, what does browser do, etc. Okay? So I want all of you to go through my video and come and play with a little bit of HTML. And HTML is so simple and so fun that our kids love it. This is one of the concepts. If you are thinking about how do I introduce programming to my kids, probably HTML and JavaScript is the best way, or some database concepts. I would say HTML and JavaScript. They like it because they'll immediately see the colors, background, images. It was like it's pretty fancy, and it's simple. So come with those concepts, and I'll talk about dynamic part of it. I'll talk about Java server-side programming, okay, which is servlets. So that's it. Okay. If you don't have anything, that's all I have. Have a good night.